Welcome back to tonight's Sad Reality, where it's actually the middle of the day, once again. Funny enough, I was trying to find a recording partner for today, and, much like every other time I try to do this, also I need to remember all the... Is it B, is it D, is it the dig? It's G for digging. Yeah, much like literally every other time I try to record, everything just kind of falls apart, and then people just don't feel like doing the things they said they wanted to do, or... that's just kind of life. But, hey, I'm fine with that, I've kind of grown used to it. But yes, we're playing Oxygen Not Included, and the story today, I'm not talking about Oxygen or anything like that, but it's kind of an interesting thought process to talk about. It's, this is also kind of loud, I don't really like this. Is it quieter if I... Okay, let's figure out how to construct things. Tiling. Tiling is good. These. Let's do more of this. I don't really know what I'm doing, by the way. I know very little about this game, and I've tried playing it before. I always just sucked at it, so I kind of didn't really play it. But I thought it'd be a fun game to play today, and I was originally going to boot up like an old world, but turns out all my old worlds were like, guess what, kind of dead because I suck at this game like I was talking about. But anyways. So, the premise is it a scary thought to not know someone or not read them as well as you originally thought? So I was talking to fun with my coworkers, and a big part of retail is honestly just our ability to read people, you know? It's like, hey, is this guy going to steal? Is he chill? Is he not chill? Storage bins. Like, what's kind of the... It's still really loud. Audio. Audio. Sound effects. Let's turn this down to, like, 69. Anyways, so a big part of retail is getting a read for people. Is this guy going to steal? Is he not going to steal? What's kind of the... He's chill, I think. The hatch. And so if they don't, then they're chill, you know, and sometimes people just look suspicious, but they're not, or they're socially anxious, or, you know, some other thing comes up. And hey, that's totally fine, you know, people are like that. That's just another part of life, you know. So do I have to deconstruct that then, technically? Is there a deconstruct button? There is. So I need... No, not that. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay. I feel like I literally should have, like, redone the tutorial or something, because, again, I have, like, no idea what I'm doing. But I think that's half the fun of this, honestly. We're gonna dig out some more of this, get some more oxygen flowing in here. Base, add some more tiles. I think the doors also need to be 2 wide, something like this. I might start farming in a second. I'm also leaving it on 1x speed, because I can't process anything and talk at the same time. But some people are socially anxious, and that's totally fine, you know? Other people are a little more malicious than that, admittedly. It's usually self-thinking, or self-thinking. I'm not sure the word for it. But it's prioritizing the self over everyone else. That's why people steal and stuff like that, is it's like, well, I need this more than they do, or it's a corporate, nobody really cares, or... There's always got to be some reason for it, in my opinion anyways. Otherwise, I feel like that's... There's no reason for anything to happen anyways. I feel like going down here is a bad idea. I just see a lot of ores, and I see metal, and I'm like, ooh, I need the metal. So we got this here. A big part of this, too, is literally just digging stuff out at the start. And of course, you need, like, plumbing and all that, like outhouses and all sorts of fun stuff. Probably what I'm going to do is outhouses here and here. And medicine, furniture, a cot. We have 3 of these guys, so I'll put 3 of these here. And that'll be a good setup for the day. But so, instead of it being a customer, right, then take a coworker, for example. Now, some people, again, socially anxious, so don't really know how to communicate or conversate in a normal way. I'd consider myself to be like that on a good day. And that's life, you know? Not everyone's perfect at all these things. It'd be nice if we were, but we're not. But what I think's hard for a lot of people, especially with first impressions, is getting a feel for someone really is. A feel for who someone really is. A good example of that is, I have this one coworker who... He doesn't really talk too much. He's kind of just... He does his job, not, like, well, but he does his job, you know. And even my managers, they've been like, hey, what's... Like, what do you do in your free time? How does your spare time go? Do you play video games? No, not really. Do you like to listen to music? Sometimes. And just, like, responses like that, where it's like, there's no grand interest or passion shown for any of these things. It's just... all standard... I realized I forgot to actually set those up so that would be working. And it's really hard to engage with people like that, too. I think some people, I don't know if it's natural introversion or what the cause for that is, but there's got to be something to it. Now, the more scary premise to what I'm going to talk about today is, well, serial killers exist. That's a crazy thought, right? There are people out there that are malicious, or people that I'm not sure we understand why psychologically, and don't take this from the perspective of an uneducated 21-year-old, but there are people that will kill other people. That's, you know, like, statistically in your lifetime, I think you've probably met at least one other person that'll murder someone else or be part of a violent crime or something along those lines. Not necessarily a fun thought, but that's the sad reality that we live in. What if it were your coworker? What if it were someone you knew, someone that's really close to you, and what if that was the person, like, you're the person that died, you know, you're the person that they decided, hey, they're gonna snap one day, and, you know, you're the unlucky person to deal with it, you know? What do you say to that? Because I feel like there's no universe where people really think about that. That's really just the thing that people really, that's on their mind. I feel like that's like a paranoia kind of thing, which is its own other psychological classifications and stuff. And again, totally uneducated. Please correct me in the comments if you know bazillions more about this than I do. But it's also the internet, so people can say whatever they want. And I'm a lawyer, because I say I am. I don't know, for what it's worth, everyone's like criticizes the internet for grand misinterpretations, but there's actually a lot of like kind of useful stuff where it's like, hey, I'm a lawyer, I can't exactly prove that, but here's what I do have from my experience, and they could be totally right. I'm like, hey, if you're right about this, thank you for sharing your experience, you know? We need people that are willing to share the information that they have, and their stories, the experiences, all that. I think that's super important, you know? Now I need to start producing oxygen. Metal ore. Is it just any metal ore, or is it just metal ore? Copper ore. So this is metal. Oh, no, it's copper says it's metal. Okay, so I think that literally means it's any metal. What we're gonna do is dig these out. I don't know if these require... They require algae. Okay, good to know. And won't let me build it because I don't have enough metal to make from that. It's good to know. It's like I need a tutorial or something. I probably should have done that again. Oh well. So, the reason I come to the story is I have a coworker and he's very good at what he does. Like, super on top of it. He shows up on time, all these other things. And I know from talking to him that he doesn't exactly hold everyone in high regards. And I feel like him and I alike, we're kind of critical of the people around us for one reason or another. I don't necessarily think it's a good thing. I think it's just, hey, this is the truth, you know? Are they really finished with their tasks? Why are not, like, sweep things? Well, I guess they're sleeping now. I forgot there's, like, a priorities thing. Storing. That should be up there. He's good at attacking, good at digging, good at farming. I always just boost these up a little bit. Maybe, like, that makes the most sense. Then storing should also be up there. Storing, supplying, digging is really important. Storing is kind of important right now. Toggling, attacking, I don't think these really matter too much. Ranching will be important later. And obviously we're trying not to run out of oxygen, so that's a big part of it. But so we're both critical of other people around us, and I think that's totally fine. I feel like it's kind of a rational thing to do. There is a territory that it bleeds into that's a little concerning, where it becomes like that's all you really think about, or even some people obsess over, is it's just like, oh hey, this person bothers me, this is irritating, or this, that, whatever. I feel like something I often say when I have nothing better to say. But there's some good and bad to it, right? I was playing a game recently, and of course all great thoughts come from video games, as always. The idea being, you go through the entire game not knowing who killed this one guy, and you learned at the very end that it was actually the main character, and it was just a memory that was repressed for whatever reason. Now, it wasn't something that he wanted to do, and there's a debate as to whether or not it was kind of him, or just like something made him do it, whatever. But at the end of the day, he was the one who did it, and, you know, it's kind of the least likely suspect, because he was best friends with the guy who was killed. In fact, the guy who was killed would consider, like, he looked up to him and all this other stuff, and that was just like a complete shock to everyone, almost. So much to the point where the main character is then basically running away from everyone else because now everyone kind of wants to kill him, and the world's just like falling apart like that. The point being, on a more realistic level, how do you reconcile not knowing what someone thinks about you or the possibility of that? I don't really have an answer for it. I think a lot of people just kind of block things out of their mind. Like, again, knowing that your coworker is critical of other people, you probably just don't really care about that opinion as much if he's critical of everyone, so it only matters when he talks about it and it's like it comes up or whatever. But there's not like an easy way to go about that. You know, also we can finally make oxygen, finally. Also from my experience, I think you usually want to put it on the bottom because I say so, but also I think oxygen naturally kind of rises, I want to say. I don't know. Other things fall down there, I think. So that's holding breath, hungry. Storing things like sandstone. Also, is there a way to like make this high priority while they're building it? Is construction a operating, farming, ranching, building? Building should be up there. These digging should be up for now. That's being pretty important. And hopefully they will make oxygen before they die, but I also don't really care either because I'm also kind of at the end of my story. I went rock climbing with that coworker. He's a little bit critical of people. I say that in the nicest way possible, nothing to judge him. In fact, I think I judge myself more when it comes to being critical of other people. But we went rock climbing today and he was talking about one of my other coworkers and just like general opinions and stuff, because they used to be kind of friends, but then they weren't. I didn't really get a full story there either, so that's something I might come back with tomorrow night. It won't be the next video, it'll be 2 videos from now, if I end up getting the rest of that story. But, it sucks to know someone as a friend, or think of them like a friend, and then for stuff to happen and stuff just kind of falls apart. I feel like that's kind of the natural cycle to friends or people as you see it in the world, where people enjoy being alone more often than not, just because it's easier sometimes. Doesn't necessarily mean it's right, and it's easier to judge people, a little harder to make amends or fix things or see things that we view as problematic and actually go out and fix it, you know? So, I guess it is more or less about it for tonight's sad reality. I don't really have an answer to half these things either. It's a little bit more for consideration than it is for anything else. But, actually, no. Not quite. Fake ending. Psych you out. Where I really wanted to go with this, and the reason why I picked this game, so I was like, why did I pick Oxygen Unincluded? The joke I was going to make with this was, we lie to ourselves, because I'm joking to myself if I think I'm ever going to beat this game, because I suck at this. I'm just not really good at, like, managing this, and there's so many things you have to do, and, like, there's, like, oil and, like, electricity, and so many other things you have to think about, and it's just not... No bueno for me. Not really my forte, as they say. Let's put 2 generators here. And a battery. You know what, we're gonna start storing batteries right here. I might make this a big farm. I feel like this is a good place to start farming. There's just like a lot of stuff here to harvest. But so I'm lying to myself about everything I'm gonna beat this game, and it might happen eventually. I'm not saying that like I'm so bad at this it's never going to happen, but in reality it's just probably not going to happen, you know. So in some ways, I think people like lying to themselves to serve the greater purpose that this is a reality we'd rather have rather than the truth to what's going on in life, you know? Especially the people around us, or just not even caring about the problems, or figuring things out, finding and fixing the future as we see fit, you know? And this also comes from that, not only with judgmental coworkers, but then also many people, like, we like the job that we have, we're very fortunate to have it, but people don't want to be working in retail forever, you know? At the end of the day, it's a kind of a necessary evil to be here in life. And most of my coworkers either did go to college, didn't go to college, or whatever, but then stuff just didn't pan out after that for them, you know? Not really the job they want, but it's what we have and what we have to make do with. But where the lying to ourselves comes in is we can't just expect the future to get better, we have to make that future better. But a lot of people, we just kind of sit around and are like, well, maybe someday I'll do this, maybe someday I'll get those tech certifications that I need, maybe someday I'll make these things happen, and the truth is, well, that day could be today, you know? There's nothing stopping that from being the case. It's just easier to sit by idly, kind of like I'm doing right here, and do nothing. You know, just let the world pass by, and the rest of that. So whether it's lying to ourselves about the future, or people as we know them, to sort of make that easier, it's the reality we prefer, not the reality that is real. So, thanks for watching tonight's Sad Reality. I feel like this video kind of pays more of an homage to the original purpose of the channel, because more recently it had been like, what I did at work today and all that. I don't always have something super sad. I do want to keep things more serious, and I think that's always a cool conversation to have, because you won't always find that somewhere else on YouTube, at least not in my experience. But I also don't want a podcast either. You know, a podcast, you're just like sitting around, and I think it's boring. I want other stuff going on. I just kind of suck at it, and it's something I'll get better with over time. So, thank you so much for listening to tonight's Sad Reality, or today, it's the middle of the day. And have a fantastic rest of your day. I will see you in the next one, probably like, what time is it? 9 hours from now. Have a good one, y'all.